I want to start out tonight by offering my condolences to all of the Miami Hurricanes fans out there who went to sleep in the third quarter when the Canes fell behind Saturday night by 25 points at Cal. And I know there's a lot of you guys, because I've spoken to you, a lot of you, and I know you couldn't believe the turn of events. What happened from that point forward was an absolutely horrible thing for everybody to miss. And Miami rallied from nowhere to catch the Bears with 26 seconds left on the clock, win 39-38, move to 6-0, and then move up to number 6 in the polls at the midway point of the season. So somebody asked in the last 24 hours or so if anything is really different than in the past many years of Miami football, when the Canes were life and death to win all of their ACC games, win some, lose some, most going deep into the fourth quarter, like these first two of this year have gone. Is this the same thing that we saw in the Al Golden and Mark Richt and Manny Diaz eras? Well, yes and no. Miami did make enough mistakes in both of those games that those teams were in it till the very end. And that happened even though the Canes have a better roster. But no, this is not the same plus same equals same era. The difference? There is hope. Hope. This Miami team that we watched pull out that miracle on Saturday night is not even close to peaking, not even close to playing at its best. There is so much upside here as this team moves forward on the season. And that gives us so much to talk about tonight as we begin this new edition of CaneSport Live. Let's start with Cam Ward. He's still fighting what has been a career-long propensity to turn over the football. That interception on Saturday night at the beginning of the third quarter, it couldn't have been worse. Couldn't have been more critical. Couldn't have been more ill-advised, throwing across his body, putting the ball up for grabs in the middle of the field. The greatest mistake a quarterback could ever make. But look at how he bounced back from that. And I mean, have we ever seen a player so capable of reversing his fortunes so quickly than we've seen from Cam Ward this season? He had just 109 passing yards in the first half on Saturday night, and Miami scored just 10 points before intermission, despite the fact that the Canes got their running game and their running backs going in this game in the first half the way we talked all week, like they needed to. Mark Fletcher, Damian Martinez, they were running with power and authority, and but it wasn't resulting in points on the scoreboard. And I thought Mario Cristobal summed things up very perfectly regarding Cam Ward when he said that Ward is not a player that you can micromanage. If you start trying to micromanage Cam Ward, you're taking away what Cam Ward is. This is a quarterback that improvises. Miami's running an improvisational offense this season, and it's not going to be in any textbook. You're not going to see it in Football 101. Very, very few players can make enough positive plays in this type of offense to justify is a good word, what it does to your overall offensive scheme when so many of your plays are not being executed the way they're drawn up and designed in practice during the week. Has Miami gone a little bit too far in that direction with this improvisational offense? Maybe. And that's something that the coaches are going to have to navigate through here in this open week, because they are fortunate to be 6-0. They very easily could be 4-2. These last two games have been life or death. They've hung on the balance of one play here or there. And they could have gone in any direction. So the coaches are going to have to work through all that. But another poster on the message board to CaneSport.com this week said that they thought that Cam Ward was the best quarterback that has ever played at Miami. And, I just think that's a little bit of a major declaration there in the heat of the moment when you consider some of the guys who have played quarterback for the Hurricanes in the past and for more than one season. But what I would say, the same thing I've been saying all along about the receiver position, the running back position, why bother ranking it? Do we really have to rank Cam Ward against Jim Kelly, Bernie Kosar, Vinny Testaverde, even Ken Dorsey, who won a national championship? Like, do we really have to do that? I don't think we do. I think that we could just ride it. And that's what I would say everybody should do. But there is a flip side that is worthy of discussion tonight, and that's the possibility. Is it possible that for all the turnovers, to avoid hurting Miami at some point in one of these games where the miracle doesn't materialize at the end? If they keep turning the ball over the way they did the last 2 weeks, are the results still going to stay as good as they are? And there's a strong probability that they would not, and then we would be back to win some, lose some, same plus same equals same. And that's why this week is coming at the perfect time. It is giving Miami a chance to do a lot of internal scouting, introspection, and make decisions on how they are going to approach the games moving forward as the season goes forward. There's so many other topics for us to talk about tonight as well. There's the run game, the way it awoke at Cal. Mark Fletcher got 11 carries, gained 81 yards. He only got 5 carries the week before against Virginia Tech. So getting Mark Fletcher back involved, you see the high level that he is playing at was to me a huge thing, even though they had to get away from it a little bit in the second half because they were coming from so far behind. But I think that is a really, really positive situation moving forward to the second half of the season. The level Mark Fletcher's playing at, the fact that there was more of a commitment to the running game, and I still believe that Damian Martinez, who ran really hard and well on Saturday night, and his opportunities will finally start to bust some long run that will improve his yard per carry, his yards per carries stats, which has always been about 6.2 or 3 in the past and is in the low 4s this season. His production at Miami has not been what it was at Oregon State. Great chance, if they remain committed to the running game, that can change in the second half of the season. And what about the defense, the way they rebounded from an absolutely horrific first half to hold Cal to 10 points in the second half and make those key stops in the fourth quarter that kept giving the ball back to Cam Ward and the offense, that were able to put touchdown after touchdown up on the board and allow Miami to erase that margin. You didn't like the beginning, but you have to acknowledge the end for sure. And on another note, Miami got a recruiting win tonight when West Broward wide receiver Joshua Moore, a heck of a player, decommitted from Florida and committed to the Miami Hurricanes. We talk a little bit about that as well. So let's move on ahead and embark on this new week of CaneSport Live. Hello again, everybody. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, and we welcome you to this edition of CaneSport Live, the People's Show. It is presented tonight by Caneswear, your ultimate authority for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. If you want to brandish the U all around town, you want to brag and pound your chest about the 6-0 record, a return almost to the top 5 of college football as you get ready for the second half of the season, there is no better place to go do it than Caneswear, where they have everything you could possibly want as a Hurricane fan. And we're talking about jerseys, T-shirts, hats, hoodies, whatever you want. They have at Caneswear in all different sizes, men, women, kids. We'll talk more about Caneswear later in the show, but you can visit their store at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or go to caneswear.com to see their entire lineup of Canes merchandise. And if you haven't been doing it all season long, there's no better time to do it than now. This is your show. It'll be driven by your interaction. If you're not pre-registered with us and you would like to come on the show, just shoot us an email at canesport@yahoo.com, and we will shoot you a studio link and get you on the show tonight. We'd love to hear from some new faces, as always. Matt Shodell is going to be joining me first tonight, and then later in the show, we'll be joined by the voice of the fan, Bruce Warner. So let's get this party started by bringing the man himself, Matt Shodell, onto the show. And Matt, I just set the stage for you, pretty much outlined all the great things that there are to be proud about as we go into this open week. Let's start with your general thoughts on what you saw Saturday night and your take.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on. Third-time caller, never before listener. I'd say just in addition to all the things you rambled on and on about, my personal thought was that Cam Ward, this is just aside from what you said, because a lot of what you said obviously seems quite factual, which is unusual for you. I don't know what happened. Maybe there's some sort of virus going around that you should probably get checked out in the hospital tomorrow.
I'm gonna try to be truthful, man. I admit it. I am still jet lagged out and from that West Coast trip. It's for real, man.
Well, so anyway, so you were at the game. I was actually watching this game on TV because I wanted to go crabbing, set my traps that Saturday morning. Was the first day you were allowed to do that, and then you pull them 2 weeks later, which is perfect. So anyway, from watching on TV, I wasn't able to watch Cam Ward the whole time, but unlike being in the press box where you really can't see people up close, you could sort of read some of Cam Ward's body language, and he seemed off from the start of the game. And as it sort of wound along, and he obviously knew what the strategy was, and the strategy clearly from the start was we're not relying on Cam Ward in this game because Cal has 10 interceptions. Cam tends to take chances. He's had 2 bad turnovers on the first couple of series in a couple of games, right? Already that year heading into the Cal game. So they obviously made a concerted effort that, hey, Cam, we're taking the ball out of your hands. We're going to run the ball a lot, and which they did, and they did it very successfully. But when you look at Cam's body language, normally he's so energetic and bouncing around. He was slumped, a little bit slumped with his shoulders, sort of just walking around. Like there was no energy there in the first half. And I think it goes to and Miami ran so successfully, and they had 10 points at halftime. So what does that tell you, right? They had 108 yards on 16 carries in the first half. Cam Ward barely tried to throw the ball down the field, and they had 10 points. What that should tell Miami coaches is, yeah, we can run the ball successfully against probably any defense. I think they can. They're averaging 5.6 yards per carry. Last year, they averaged 5.1. The year before that, 3.7. They're running the ball very successfully, even though it doesn't seem like they are, in part because Cam Ward is so amazing. So compared to him, they look terrible. But I think when you take the ball out of Cam Ward's hands, he's an individual. He's a person, right? He doesn't seem to enjoy that, which I get. A lot of quarterbacks are happy to hand the ball off like, hey, I don't have to do anything. Let them do the work, right? Cam wants to do the work. Cam wants to be the hero. I mean, he clearly says, I'm the greatest quarterback in the country. Like, that's Cam Ward. So to me, if you're a Miami coach, this needs to become, and Gary disagrees, but it needs to become a 65-70% passing offense. That 50-50 split that Mario Cristobal wants, that Shannon Dawson has said he wants, it's just got to go out the window with this offense. Like, I'm sorry, that's my personal feeling. This is not a fact. Just watching what's happened so far this year, I think Cam Ward's more effective when they make a game plan based around Cam Ward, you're doing everything. And let's try to run the ball a little bit. That's what he wants to do. That's what he wants to hear. That's what he wants to be. And that's what he was in the second half. And you saw what happened, right? And then the other side of the ball, just again to touch on something you didn't really mention it that much, is I think Cal lost the game as much as Miami won it because Miami's secondary, let's face it, is not real good. Okay, I think we know that right through 6 games. They have the lowest coverage grades I've seen in a while. Their starters. I mean, even Darryl Porter, who was supposed to be this shutdown corner who did really well last year, is cover grades in the 50s. I think he has 2 penalties. He's been hit up. I think he's been targeted the most of any cornerback. He's given up, I don't know the numbers in front of me, but he's given up a lot of yards and a lot of catches and a lot of targets. Okay. So not real good. And Cal exploited that. They were on pace for 400 plus yards passing in the first half, right? They had over 200 passing yards in the first half. A lot of busts. You can't blame all of it just on the cornerbacks, but I'm just mentioning that because the cornerbacks have not been good this year. Okay. And then in the second half, Cal runs the ball 9 of the first 10 plays, I think it was, or if I edited it up correctly, right? They're like, we're up 35, or by the 8-minute mark, right? When the game was over. Like, the game's over, we're just going to run the ball. And that's when I texted you, Gary. We went over this on Good Morning CaneSport. I texted Gary at that point. I said, listen, if Cal goes conservative, Miami actually has a chance to win.
You did.
And that came to be the case because Miami knew Cal was going to run the ball, right? Because, hey, just like everybody else watching, they're like, okay, Cal wants to run clock. Cal wants to run clock. If you throw an incompletion, that stops the clock. They figured Miami has 3 possessions left. If we just get a couple of first downs and run the clock, the math says we're going to win. So Miami knew they were going to run. Cal did run. Miami stacked the box, stopped the run, got the ball back, got the ball back, got the ball back. When you're going 4 downs with Cam Ward and you have to go on 4th down and get it, you tell me a team that's going to hold Cam Ward in this offense to 2.2 yards per carry, 2.2 yards per play over 4 plays to keep them, or whatever it would be, 2.5, I don't know, I'm not doing the math right, but whatever it would be that you have to average per play to get a first down every single time, good luck with that. Because if you have Cam Ward going all 4 downs in a desperation situation and the other team's playing a prevent pretty much, I'm pretty sure Cam's going to get a touchdown on every single one of those drives, which he did, and Miami wins the game. Which is what I texted you with 8 minutes left in the 3rd quarter. I said, if they do A, Miami will do B, and Miami will have a chance to win. So, the bigger picture now is you have 6 games left. Your only 2 ACC games you've played, you're darn lucky you won both. You could as easily be 0-2 as 2-0, if not for, and on TV, they didn't really show a good view of Wesley Bissaint's hit. But I will tell you this, Wesley Bissaint was not looking at what he was doing. He put his head down and just powered his head into the other player, into the quarterback. Now,
his shoulder hit first.
Now, that's just pure luck. That's just pure luck. Because he didn't see where he was going. He just launched his head into the other player, which is exactly what they coach you not to do at Miami. That is not a rugby-style tackle, okay? That is begging for a targeting call. And again, they didn't show a real good view on TV. So, like you said, obviously they saw an angle or didn't have an angle to say it was head-to-head. And then the previous game, of course, was the craziness with the end zone. Did he have the ball on a foot down or not? It was the guy touching the ball on Miami who was standing out of bounds. I never saw an angle that definitively said either or. I think it wasn't a catch. Whatever. But again, these could go either way, right? 4th and 10, 3rd and 20s. Like, you're converting crazy plays. 4th and 3, the receiver falls down and somehow makes the catch. Like,
any of which fail, you lose.
These are hairline thin plays where they all had to go right. 3rd, it would have been if Cam Ward gets sacked, doesn't throw to Riley Williams, you're in a 3rd and forever situation there. I mean, these are just miraculous games that they managed to win. So now as you look at the next 6 games, the opponents, I think, are 19-13 combined records, somewhere in there. I just looked at it today, but now, of course, my mind is as blank as a Gary Ferman, I don't know, fill in the blank. But so like, they're not terrible teams that Miami plays. Like, every team Miami plays has something they can do that's decent. Even Wake Forest, seems to have a somewhat of an offense, as bad as they are, right? Duke has somewhat of a defense, as bad as they are, and actually they have a good record. But you know what I'm saying. Syracuse has a great offense, right? Louisville, we know, is the biggest challenge remaining on the schedule. So is it fair at 6-0 to say that this is different than 2017? It feels different. It feels different than that team that went 10-0 and lost the last 3 games because of Cam Ward. But am I nervous? I'd be lying if I said I wasn't. Like, this is not clearly a dominant team. This is a team that's escaping through, honestly, sheer luck.
Yeah.
Sheer luck.
It's been more than luck, but there's been a lot of luck.
It's been more than luck. But, when a guy falls down and reaches up without seeing it and catches it, to me, that's luck. When a linebacker launches himself at an opposing player and just happens to hit his shoulder first, that's luck. Like, I'm sorry, that's why I say it's sheer luck because of those 2 plays. When Riley Williams isn't even looking for a pass and just standing there, and Cam Ward shovels it to him, and he reaches and grabs it, and that is the play that essentially gives you the winning touchdown, that's sheer luck. I mean, Riley Williams got pancaked, was on the ground. They've been
getting all the breaks.
To watch his quarterback get sacked and wound up with a 26-yard gain. Like, you could say, oh, Shannon Dawson drew up an amazing play. No, that's called luck. If it's not drawn up, if it's not on the blackboard, it's luck. Okay. And all those lucky pieces, which, by the way, Miami's earned its luck because we've had so much unluck. Is that a word? That we've earned this, but it's okay to call it luck. Like, it's not all skill. I'm sorry.
Well, Cuban Kane asked what's the difference between 2017 and 2024 outside of Cam, and that is the difference.
Cam is the difference.
It's the luck. It's the luck. I mean, look at 2017. They were fortunate to win the Florida State and Georgia Tech games and that allowed them to get 10-0. They had the luck. If you're going to win week after week after week in college football, there's going to be times where you need luck. So they have been getting luck so far this season, but luck runs out, and they are going to have to play much better football the second half of the season if they're going to make it where they want to go. All right, let's get out to some of our fans that are ready to rock and roll. Looks like he took the night off tonight so that he could, I don't know, give us his undivided best. So let's go to Kane's Kane. Hey, man.
What's happening, fellas?
You're in your bedroom tonight, huh?
No, boss man gave me all, so I said I can get on the phone tonight. I ain't had to run it back and forth and help people at the gas station. But all that stuff, man, saying, all the stuff you saying, 2 tears in a bucket, fuck it. We 6-0. You take it the way you take it. You get it the way you get it. The defense don't look that good sometimes, but when I looked at the way they were running the ball, and it looked like the last 2 teams, Virginia Tech, they watching our outside. Are we being too aggressive, penetrating? Because they're not getting none in the middle. Everything's on the outside. What, the little pitch back or pass? I said it's 3rd and 7, they're going to get them. Joker ran 70 yards, 50 yards, 60. What, they had six plays or 50 plus? You can't win like that. Y'all are right. They have to tighten up. Cam, he's Cam. Mad as hell when I saw that ball. I said, that ball going to get picked. Y'all knew it was going to get picked. Pick 6. So then in my mind, in the back of my mind, I'm like, we can win. I stayed up for the whole game. I'm like, damn. But then like you said, got to blame California because they kept running. And then Simeon Barrett was busting through the hole looking like Reggie White, laying them out. Bain was doing their thing. The secondary didn't have to play as hard because they were running the ball. So, like I said, y'all are right. It's going to be fine, y'all. One game we can't lose. Better not lose. Shouldn't lose. Well, like you said, I said 12-0, 11-1, 10-2. Can't lose more than 2. It'll be a bad season. Correct, Matt? Gary?
At this point, you lose 2, it's a bad season. At this point, when you're 6.
Okay, lose 2 is a bad. Okay, so Louisville game gonna be a tough one. But that FSU game, I'm there. They better stomp the dog. You know what I am. Pig. Matt looking like Matt. You think they can do it? How many games y'all think we're gonna win? Forget all that. We got 6 left. How many you got?
I'm writing a column for the bye weekend where I'm predicting 11 wins in the regular season.
All right, you, Gary?
I'm in the same place. If they're gonna have to be a lot better next week.
Okay. Well,
I don't know that they're gonna beat Louisville if they play the way they played against Virginia Tech and Cal. I think Louisville is a mad football team that's very good. They're very well coached, and they've got a quarterback and an offense that can really exploit Miami's weaknesses. And this is a big week coming up at Louisville.
Well, they play Virginia this week, so if they were to lose to them, oh hell, it might be a problem. There'll be 3 games.
They're not losing.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Well, hold on. That's what people said about Vanderbilt and Bama.
I know.
You don't know. If you don't come to play, you might lose. That's what happened with us. Like you said, 2 lucky games. We ain't come to play our best. We damn near snuck away with 2 lucky wins. So anybody can be beat.
They did come to play their best. Effort in coming to play and being ready to play and all that has not been an issue for this team at all. But
60 yards and 50 yards and 70, something ain't right. They might be coming to play, but it didn't show up on that first half with all them big plays.
They got to figure that out. Are they trying to? Is it too complicated? These are kids making split-second decisions under the lights. I mean, listen, the pressure couldn't be more enormous, and they're making these snap decisions. And if they're not really on top of what they're doing, they're going to make mistakes like they made the other night. And the question I have is, maybe they need to simplify the defense. Maybe they can't run Lance Guidry's scheme the way he would normally like to run it, and because they don't have 11 guys that are operating all the time out there with full understanding of what they're supposed to be doing, and it's killing the team because they're giving up these huge chunks and allowing teams to stay in the game with them. And that's one thing that's going to have to change very, very quickly for sure.
Well, I ain't gonna hold y'all. Y'all got plenty more people to talk trash besides me. I'm a realist. 305. The sun will rise in 305, and it's still rising because we just got a new commit. Let's go, baby! Peace.
All right, Kane.
You know,
Thanks for taking us inside your bedroom, man. We appreciate that.
do you remember, by the way, Gary?
Love that guy, huh?
Yeah, me too. Do you remember the concern that everybody had when Lance Guidry was first hired at Miami? Do you remember the reputation he had? Was that he was a gambler and that he would give up some huge gains, in order to try and, get sacks and tackles for loss, that he would leave cornerbacks all alone and safeties would be on receivers one-on-one way deep down the field. Like that was the concern when he was hired, because that's what his defense is built upon. You got to get to the quarterback fast enough that that's not exploited. And now it's sort of looking like there's times where that scheme, it is his scheme. He's not doing anything different. Like it's his scheme. Tyler Barron was literally in coverage last game. Like that's what he does. Even though Tyler Barron's the best pass rusher in the ACC, he's covering guys on some plays, right? Mish Powell's covering slot receivers. Like this is what Lance Guidry does in order to try and bring different angles and make the quarterback uncomfortable. But it creates sometimes when it's figured out by the other team, creates massive plays.
Yeah, it looked to me like he's going to have to make some adjustments, but they were much better in the second half. So maybe, that some of those adjustments were made at halftime of this game. They were not giving up the big plays in the second half that they were giving up in the first half. Let's go out to Everything 305, see what he has to say. Everything, welcome back to CaneSport Live. How you doing this week?
Hey, gentlemen, how we doing?
We're doing good.
What's up?
I can see that you're still tired there, Gary.
Oof, you have no idea.
It's a long trip. So, and I wanted to start off by making this point with travel. That's one of the hardest trips to make and play within 48 hours of getting out there. I don't care whether you're an NFL team. I don't care whether you're an NBA team. It's very difficult. And the transition is always going to be, it's going to take you at least half the game to get your legs and get your mind right.
At least they have buses taking them all over the place. I was walking up hills. It was a nightmare to get from the parking garage to the stadium. I felt like I hiked 2 miles up a mountain. Matt Shodell does that on vacation. He could have handled it. For me, like I'm in decent shape, but man, it was brutal.
Well, the other thing I wanted to point out, if I'm not mistaken, Matt, I think they had more passing attempts in the second half than they did the first half.
Who did?
Cal, correct?
Well, you have to remember, Cal didn't need to run a lot of plays in the first half, and you're considering the fact that Cal, their last 4 plays after Miami took the lead, their last 4 plays were all passes. If you take those out of the equation, they only threw like 3 passes the whole second half.
We could dissect the game like that. If 4 guys are communicating correctly at the back end, we don't give up 3 big chunk plays. It wasn't necessarily guys getting beat one-on-one. There were rotations and communications, and you still have a guy playing safety that we've been able to get through 5-6 games now, but he's been exposed more and more with his lack of communication, and he takes the bait all the time.
The problem is we don't really know. I understand your point, and it's like, okay, maybe that's not the way it's supposed to look, but you had Mish Powell clearly trying to cover a guy one-on-one down the field who was a slot receiver, like that. And we saw by the way, Gary and I saw every single spring practice, Mish Powell getting torched, not even close, by Xavier Restrepo every single rep. So the fact that they would do that in a game is ridiculous, and I understand maybe it wasn't supposed to be him on him, but like that's the way it wound up. Whose fault is that? Was that communication? That somebody else was supposed to be covering him? I don't know, but we don't know the answer. That's the problem.
Matt, but we do know the answer. You're talking about basic dump-offs and guys not being in the right lane to make a tackle. I mean, that's what I meant by them not being there with their mind, their legs, and their body in the first half.
Right. Well, that's
3 of those big plays. I'm not trying to be biased here, but basic plays that went for 50, 40 yards a score, that's inexcusable, no doubt about it. But when you look at it's just like being a teacher. How you guys do it midterm, and then how you guys do on the final exam. That's when you can really tell how good of a professor or teacher you have in that classroom. And look at halftime. I don't know what adjustments were made, if any, but what I do know is they were better mentally. They communicated better. There were still 2 big plays they gave up, but they were better. And that's what you're looking for. Does the system have some kinks in it based on personnel and their skill sets? No doubt about it. But those are things that if you are better mentally, you can still get through those episodes. And I think that's the big thing with Guidry.
Look, I appreciate your point, but I will point this out, okay? Again, you can go through the play-by-play. I did. They did not throw the ball a lot in the second half. They were very predictable. Cal, I'm talking about. And they threw, I think there was 2 passes out of a set of 11 plays. And one of those was actually a screen to the running back that was going to hit big because Miami, like you said, was not communicating correctly. Still in the second half, was not communicating correctly. Had tons, and he dropped it. He had 50 yards to run, and he dropped the ball. So I mean, it's easy to say, look at the stats and how much better Miami was in the second half, but Miami had the ball almost the whole second half because they had drives of 8 and 12 plays and 7 plays. Cal barely had the ball, and when they had it, they were just running the ball. And like, I get it. It looks better, and you can argue, oh, look at the defense really stepped up, and they were dominating the line of scrimmage. But that was in part because they knew Cal was going to be running the ball, right? When you know what the opponent's going to do and they're one-dimensional, it's a lot easier to look good and look like you know what you're doing. So I don't know that they were really tested in the second half the way they to say, okay, Lance Guidry fixed it for sure. Like, I don't know.
And the same token, like I said, I don't know how dominant that offense was against us in the first half or how bad we were mentally. I mean, we can go back and forth here. But my point is, you got guys believing. You got guys on the same page. Yeah, every game requires some luck here and there. You need some breaks to go your way. That's
not to this degree.
Not just part of the game.
Not normal, everything.
It's not, but
they've needed so many breaks to go their way, and the fact that every one of them has is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and guess what? It'll balance out, and things won't go their way eventually, because that's just the way the game is. It rewards and then it punishes
as it
needs to.
I agree.
It will balance out if you let these games keep coming down to what they're coming down to. There's no question about it. It always has, always will. 2017, perfect example. Got all the breaks, got to 10-0, then lost the final 3 games of the season. It's like they are going to have to get better, but I think they can. Like I said at the beginning of the show, this team is not even beginning to scratch the surface of what it can be, in my opinion.
My concern right now is, what are they doing this week? What are they changing? And if you look at what we play our best game, when we're not throwing it all over the field, I think we need to pretty much establish the run, stay with the run, and then let things open up, tire out these defenses. When you look at every defense we're going to play going forward, there isn't one defense that you go, holy crap, I don't want to play those guys. They're all solid defenses, but they're not one. There isn't one that you go, holy crap, I'm not looking forward to that game, whether it's on the road or at home. So if you're able to go ahead and execute at a high level, you get Jalen back, hopefully. He's ready to go. And you just pretty much do what you did the second half. You're hard to stop the run. It's hard to stop the run against us when we're doing what we need to do. But you've got such a dynamic playmaker in Cam that you can't keep him locked in the whole time. And he's going to go ahead and he's going to have to be himself. And whether that means he throws a pick 6 or throws 2 picks or fumbles the ball, you're going to have to live and die with it. So when you look at also, my next point was how Mario's evolving as a head coach. Never did I think that he'd be able to handle this situation based on the way he's wired. He's allowing this guy, Garrett, it's your game, take it. I would have never in a million years guessed that he would go ahead and have his team play like this.
Well, I think there's been a little bit of give and take everything. I mean, Cam was audibling out of a lot of running plays so far this season. And I believe, and this is just my opinion, nobody's going to ever say this, but I think they've reined that in a little bit. There was a greater commitment to the running game up at Cal, and it paid off. I mean, Mark Fletcher's playing at a very high level. He is playing too well right now to not be a factor in the games. And against Virginia Tech, he wasn't much of a factor at all. And I'm sure that was not acceptable to Mario, and that's his job as the head coach. And I still think Damian Martinez has a lot to give here. I mean, the first half of the season has not gone his way, but he made a big play in the passing game. I mean, he's making plays. It's just not coming the traditional way. But I think he's got a lot to offer the second half of the season as well. And but I understand what Matt was saying, that right now Cam Ward is here for a reason, and the biggest reason is he's putting Cam Ward on the NFL map, and winning is important to him too. But the question that I have is, does it have to be all about Cam the second half of the season? And for this team to reach its potential, which, like I said, I don't think they're scratching the surface right now. I think they have huge upside with this team, but can they reach that upside if it is all about Cam? Because he has had a propensity to make mistakes, and now teams have a scout, a 6-game scout on him that defensive coordinators are going to be looking at. My personal opinion would be no, that this needs to be a complete offense, that the running backs need to be involved as well, and they need to be able to do both. And when you're talking about getting to an end of the season where you got to beat Clemson and you got to play teams in the playoff potentially, like a Texas, or Georgia, or any of these teams, Ohio State, you're eventually going to have to play one of these top teams in college football, and you better not be one-dimensional, is the way I look at it. So I think they got to find a happy medium. And if Matt is right and Cam had bad body language in the first half, and I'm not looking, I'm live at the game, I'm not seeing Cam's body language. But if Matt's right about that, that needs to change second half of the season if this team's going to achieve its goals.
I really didn't catch the body language. What I caught was someone pissed at himself more than anything. That's the way I took it. And again, I'm not trying to make excuses or be biased one way or the other. But what I loved about the kid is every time there was a commercial break, he's talking to his guys. He's owning things. And he pointed to his chest a few times. Those are the things that you want to see. But then what you also want to see is for that alpha to look at his teammates and say, we're going this way, we're doing this. And he still owns that. And the guys are still following. So as long as that continues to stay in the right direction, yeah, you're going to have those moments. Okay, it's part of any high-level contest in any sport. But the guys are still there with them. They're still following. They're still believing. So when you're still playing for each other, you can get through all those things. And I think we could point out a lot of things the last 2 games. A lot of luck, no doubt about it. But you still get through. You respond to adversity in a manner that is pretty much complete ownership. And he's done that. And we haven't had a guy like that on either side of the ball in 20 some odd years here. We just haven't. So I just, eventually things are going to balance out. You're going to lose a game? Yeah, no doubt about it. You are. You might lose 2. But the potential that you keep talking about, Gary, we're not that far off. We just have to hone down on things. And I wouldn't be surprised, guys, if you see Gidry change his scheme up a little bit and incorporate some more zone. That way you don't have to give up those big chunk plays. I wouldn't doubt if he's going to start to do that. And if you go back to one of the worst games we had last year on the road where Tyler couldn't execute, we changed the front up in Raleigh. We went to a 3-man front. And we didn't give up too many big plays. I think we gave up.
Well, that was due to injuries. He didn't want to do that, just to be clear.
That's correct. But my point is, it's still something that he can adapt to. And you've got enough talent to do that. I know we were missing Austin the other day. He was more of a true hybrid than anybody else we have, other than the young guy, Bryant. But I think that's something we might see. As a coordinator, you have to come up with your best plan going forward that's going to limit the big plays. Because you already know on the offensive side, you're going to have to control the clock as much, time of possession as much as we did last time, because that's going to make sure that you're positioned to win the game, right? Even barring turnovers, you're still going to be in that position. So I think you might see a little bit of a change. I would hope you would see that. I'm not saying it is going to happen, but there are going to be some basic adjustments made, hopefully that are being implemented this week and then brought in together with the game plan for Louisville. But
Yeah,
going forward, I'm curious.
I was just going to say I agree with most of what you're saying. The place I do disagree is that they're not far off. I think they are far off. I think they're real far off from maximizing what they can be with this team and what their capabilities are. I think they have a lot of adjustments to make here during this open week, and that they're going to need to come out at Louisville and be at a much higher level to survive that road trip.
I don't know what you keep saying they're barely scratching the surface. I don't even know what that means. It's just astounding because I think let me talk for a minute.
Well, I'm going to answer your question.
Okay, go ahead.
You want to know what I mean? I'm going to tell you what I mean, and then then you can rip it apart. Sure. I mean, Jalen Rivers hasn't played, so the running game is certainly not maxed out by any stretch of the imagination. Then the quality of the offensive line isn't maxed out.
So you think Miami can average more than the 48 points a game they're averaging if Jalen Rivers comes back?
I think that it's not going to be
about. That would be barely scratching the surface. So what's the surface?
I don't think they're going to be able to average 48 points when they play better competition.
The offense is playing at the highest level we've seen in Miami in 25 years, and you're saying it's barely scratching the surface?
Competition they've played. You are building towards playing better teams down the road, Matt. The teams I mentioned are all better.
Had a top 20 defense. We just put 39 points on them.
Listen,
29 in the second half.
I think they're going to need to be a lot better.
Here's what I'm trying to say. This is why I don't want you to interrupt me, because I was trying to make a point.
Well, you didn't even let me finish. I don't think the defensive line
it was a rhetorical. When I said I asked you a question.
Wait a minute, I'm going to let you talk. I don't think the defensive line has been great. The secondary was horrible in the first half the other night. This team has a lot of places where it can get better. That's what I'm saying. And I think they need to get better to be ready for the tougher competition that they are going to face.
Well, we agree they need to get better, but I think they are what they are. When I said, what do you mean by they're barely scratching the surface? That's called a rhetorical question. It means the answer is already built into the question. It's baked in. It means keep your mouth shut and let me talk for another minute. So on offense, I think they're already are what they are, which is an extremely explosive offense with the most explosive plays in the country, numbers-wise. I mean, that's not barely scratching the surface on offense. I think everyone with a clear mind who's not institutionalized like you are in your basement knows that. Now, on defense, I can understand why maybe you could make an argument they're barely scratching the surface, but that's if you assume they're actually a really good defense. I don't think they are. I think the defensive line is excellent. I think Ruben Bain coming back will help them, but they've already been excellent. They are number, I think, 18 in the country in tackles for loss, and that's the defensive line. The defensive line is dominating. The run defense is excellent. The linebackers, Wesley Bissainthe is playing out of his mind compared to the last 2 years. Francisco Mauigoa has taken a step back the last 2 games. He played great last year. He's playing okay this year, but certainly I don't think that I don't think he's barely scratching the surface. And in the secondary, I don't think they're good. So I think the surface that they're on is below the surface, and I think that's where they are. That's all I was trying to say.
I think they could be much better, and they need to be. You got anything else for us tonight, everything?
The last thing I wanted to point out was recruiting. And at this stage, it's funny how a lot of us are focusing all of our attention on what we're doing on the field. And I'm almost forgetting what's going on recruiting-wise. I mean, you mentioned in the opening tonight's show, you mentioned how we flipped somebody from a kid from West Broward, I believe you said.
West Broward,
from Florida. And, last week a kid decommitted and reclassified before that and then decommitted. And it's like those things aren't even phasing a lot of us, whether we're getting guys, not getting guys. Right now, the whole focus is on what's going to happen every Saturday. And I think that's when your program is a little bit healthier in terms of it living up to its potential. And I just hope we continue to win games. I don't care how we win them. I don't care if we're going to be lucky in every game. Really don't. Yeah. You just have to make sure you win these games. And if you win 10 games.
Well, they're doing that.
And you win 10 games, guys. Worst case, you don't get to the top 12. Got it. Go to a solid bowl game. Win a bowl game.
No.
Now you've taken that step. Do we need to go to the
No.
playoffs? Yes. Do you need to win the ACC championship? Yes. But at least you've made some progress that you can point out to. I don't want to put us in the same boat as Ryan Day up in Columbus saying if he doesn't make it to the national championship game, he's a complete failure.
With this team, anything short of Charlotte and getting in that top 12 at the end of the year is a failure. You're 6-0. The table's set for you. You've gotten your breaks. Now it's up to you to get better as a football team and not have it come down to breaks at the end of the game. All right, everything. Thank you so much, man, for being part of the show. We'll talk to you.
Have a good one.
Yep. Thanks for calling in. Yeah, I mean, listen, the onus is on the team to get better, Matt. I mean, you're not going to keep winning games like this where you have like a dozen plays that could go either way and all 12 are going in your favor, which is what's happened the last 2 weeks. I mean, it's not possible. The law of averages catch up with you. They got to get better as a football team. It starts in this open week. They have to go to Louisville and be their best. And now I'm going to go to Greg because I need somebody to put Matt Shodell in his place. And nobody did it better than Greg.
Oh, my God, not Greg. Not Greg, no.
Nobody does it better than Greg.
I can't wait.
He's all yours, Greg. Go at him, man.
I'm going after both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Number one.
Not just me.
Is our offensive coordinator, I think he's the leading candidate for the Broyles Award this year if the season ended today. We're number one in scoring, number 1 or 2 in offense. We're averaging 583 yards a game.
Yeah, Ferman. Take that, Ferman.
Okay. Number 2.
No, what percentage? I mean, and I love Shannon Dawson. I think he's doing a great job this year. I think the greatest job that Shannon Dawson and Mario are doing is how they're managing this whole thing. This is not traditional football that they are suddenly playing here. This is like a whole improvisation. This is an improvisational game that they're playing on offense, and most coaches would not like that very much because it's not executing their plays the way they're drawn up.
Okay, Gary, I'm going to refute what you just said. The two best quarterbacks in the NFL are Pat Mahomes.
Greg, you got to get closer to the camera. We can't hear you.
Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen. Do they play off script, Gary? Do you see Pat Mahomes running all over the field and throwing these underhands behind his back?
And so does Lamar Jackson even more than Josh Allen.
Oh, so how are those quarterbacks? They're pretty good.
They're great, but
we can live with 1 turnover a game. He threw that one terrible pass. I was 277 yards of offense in the fourth
that's
quarter.
Why I just said, Greg, that the best thing that Shannon Dawson and Mario Cristobal have done is adjust to Cam Ward and the way he plays football.
Hey, Gary, listen, here's what Greg's trying to tell you. You keep making it sound like this isn't Shannon Dawson's offense and Cam Ward is just winging it, when really Shannon Dawson is giving Cam Ward the ability to do this within his offense. Right? Because other coaches would say to Cam Ward, other coaches would try to rein in Cam Ward.
Offense run like this. We never have it in Miami for sure. I mean, it's
so
very.
You would rather run up the middle 3 times.
No, it's working, Greg. It's working, Greg. My concern is that when the competition gets better, that it won't work. That's my concern.
Okay, Gary, who did Louisville lose to last week? SMU, Miami Light, didn't they? They gave up 34 points to SMU. Okay, you're telling me SMU has the talent of Miami? Is it even close?
Damn good.
How many guys on SMU could start for Miami right now?
By the way, let me tell you, Greg, I think Rhett Lashley deserves a lot of credit. The personnel at SMU is not anywhere near where it should be to beat top teams. I think Rhett Lashley is a great coach. That's just my personal feeling.
And look at what he did with Tyler Van Dyke, for example, that nobody else could do.
He made Tyler Van Dyke look like a first-round NFL draft pick, for real.
Without a doubt. And Tyler Van Dyke has not been the same, obviously, since Rhett Lashley left him. Rhett Lashley is going to be on a high trajectory. He's going to get a better job than SMU.
Yeah. He's a great coach. Yeah, because that talent at SMU is nothing special. We know that. It is Miami Light. You're not wrong.
Okay, I got it. Now, Matt, now I want to ask you about these guys we got from the portal. I believe the only 4 guys that are living up to their billing are Ward, Simeon Barrow, Tyler Barron, and Martinez, because he blocks great he's a great pass blocker, and he makes some plays for us. I think he'll get better.
It's funny you say that because Martinez, as a pass blocker, grades out the worst of all the running backs, according to Pro Football Focus. We see it, if you look at a TV clip, it looks like Martinez is blowing guys up, but apparently there are times we're not noticing it, that he's just not. But whatever, I don't disagree. He has a reputation as a good pass blocker. But in terms of the portal guys, I said before the season, I said Tyler Barron, free agent. Jalen Alderman, I would have taken a pass on. Simeon Barrow, I said, was a borderline free agent. He's been a wonderful surprise. He's been fantastic. Sam Brown, I said I wouldn't have taken. He's still I still think Isaiah Horton should play more than he does. Damian Martinez was a definite free agent to me, but he's underperformed. Deani Hill, I said I didn't think he was a free agent. They've needed him, though, because Jadaeus Richard has been so bad. And no, Hill hasn't been anything special, but he's been okay. At least he eats up some reps. Cam Ward, we knew was a free agent. Mish Powell, I thought was a free agent. He was a free agent for 4 games, and now he is not a free agent anymore. Those last 2 games, he's been awful. Reese Poffenbarger, we already know, is probably a waste. Elijah Alston, I didn't think was a free agent. He's been okay. Savion Riley already left. CJ Clark, I didn't think. CJ Clark was a borderline free agent. He's obviously a backup now. Zach Carpenter, I thought was okay, but not as good as Matt Lee. He's been okay. Marley Cook, I said, was not worth taking. He hasn't done anything. So, that's the entire list. I don't know why you want me to go through it, but that's the whole list. They needed a lot of those free agents for sure, or this team's not where it is. You couldn't just have taken Cam Ward and not 4 or 5 of these other guys and had the same team. You needed Tyler Barron. You needed Simeon Barrow, right? You still need Deani Hill, even though he's not doing much production-wise, because you've got nobody else there, right? Because Jadaeus Richard is getting lit up. So in some sense, they really did it. And I said it before this year. I didn't, and you know this, Greg, I didn't like the transfer portal takes the first 2 years Mario was here. I said he finally got it right this year, and I still think that's the case, notwithstanding a few guys that I wouldn't have wasted the money on, but it's not the end of the world, But for the most part, great job in the portal this year. There's no doubt about it, and I've been saying it the whole time.
All right.
Since January, I've been saying it.
Is it wrong of me to say that OJ Frederick might be our best DB right now?
He is our best cornerback.
I don't see him getting burnt. I
Nope.
see Deani Hill.
How scary is that? A true freshman is the best cornerback on the team. It's crazy. You're right.
I see Deani Hill's looking at Jaden Harris. What are you doing? What's going on? Mish Powell is out to lunch. I don't get it. And can somebody please tell Guidry when it's 3rd and 17, we don't have to send the house, play a freaking zone and rush 4. We don't need the blitz when it's 3rd and 17.
You're down by what? I know what play you're talking about. I can't remember if it was 18 or 25 at that point, but nothing's going right. You're down, and he's trying to make a play. He's trying to turn the game around. I didn't have a problem with it.
Okay, my last point. Now, everything, and you to say we're going to lose 1 or 2 games. Who are these great teams we're losing to? Duke, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest. Are you kidding? Please, with these teams. They're not good teams.
This game at Louisville is going to be a monster, I think.
Why? They just lost the freaking
They have a very good offense. They got a very good quarterback, and they have a very good head coach that can dial it up. And you see how we're playing pass defense, and we are going to have all cylinders clicking at Louisville, in my opinion.
Greg, here's what I'll add, Greg. The teams that Miami is going to struggle with, it's going to be Georgia Tech and Louisville, and then potentially Clemson in the ACC title game, and maybe even Syracuse a little bit, but not really. And the reason is it's not about these teams are good or bad. It's about Miami's weaknesses, right? If you have an offense that can attack Miami's secondary, they're going to score points, right? And if you have a defensive line that can rush 4 or bring 1 blitzer and get pressure on Cam Ward, that's going to present a problem for Miami's offense just because of the way they run things. So those are the three teams that can do those things on both sides of the ball that will cause Miami some problems. Those are the only three games I think will have any issues. I think Miami does lose one of those three games. I mean, going 2-1 against three really good teams is not the end of the world.
Syracuse just gave up 41 points to UNLV.
Well, that's why I said. That's why I said. Yeah, that's why I said Syracuse.
Syracuse.
I said Syracuse not. I said Syracuse not so much. I said Georgia Tech, Clemson, and Louisville are the three. I said Syracuse not so much.
Georgia Tech.
Syracuse. The issue with Syracuse. The reason I said Syracuse not so much is because Syracuse has a great offense and a terrible defense, so they could score 35 plus points. That's why I said Syracuse
score 60.
So correct. So that's why I said not so much, Greg.
All right. It's a pleasure talking to you once again. 12-0
wonderful.
or bust.
It was
12-0 or bust.
Yeah, man, 12-0 or bust.
12-0 or bust. Hey, Greg, by the way, I noticed you have 2 cavities while you were talking to us, so you may want to get those checked out.
No, I don't have any.
Oh, you don't? Oh, my bad. Okay.
I've had many in my life, but none right now. Have a great day.
All right.
Thank you.
Always a good time, Greg. Thank you, sir.
We'll talk again next week. Oh, that's awesome.
He is the GOAT. There's no doubt.
He is absolutely the GOAT. All right. So there's another guy that's been doing his pre-show prep. I've been watching. For some reason, going inside, outside, I'm not going to comment beyond that, but we better get him on the show quickly, because I'm sure he's packing his glass of wine as well, and that's our man Jake. Jake, turn your microphone. You got to turn your microphone on so we can hear you. You're muted.
There we are. Yep.
There you go.
Yep. Back from
wow,
Napa.
look at that.
Oh, there you go. And what did you have going on outside?
I smoke cigarettes. So
okay, cigarettes. All right. What's up, Jake? What you got for us, man?
Oh man, well, yeah, I just got back from the journey, getting back from the stadium. My God, what a trek that was up there! Like 10-mile hike. I'm gonna bring a Sherpa if we ever go back there.
You were a Cal. You went to Cal, huh?
Yeah, we did a little trip out to Napa.
The
game. It was fantastic, and
getting to that stadium was crazy. I agree. I mean, I was like, what the hell is this? I mean, you're literally hiking up a freaking mountain that's like steep as hell.
We didn't get and then after the game, we had to walk like 2 miles to get a Uber out of there. It was ridiculous. Like, we didn't get home till 1:30 or so. Crazy, but what a end, what a finish. And that was just can't say we're not getting our entertainment these games. Wow. Two fantastic finishes. But so a couple of things I was thinking this week. The first half of the game, Matt said that Cam looked flat. I don't know that I saw that he was looking flat, but it just seemed like he was trying to make a Heisman play. He wasn't taking anything that was given to him. He wanted to put that highlight reel on tape, and he almost took 4 or 5 sacks because he's just looking for that big downhill hit, and he wasn't going to. There were so many plays where Restrepo was open or Royal was open, but he was just looking for that big 40-yard, 50-yard highlight reel play, and it wasn't there. They have a good secondary. They clamped it down until they finally wore out at the end of the game. But yeah, to me, it just looked like he was doing too much. Then, I mean, the thing I said, I hate Cam Ward because, oh my God, we wanted to leave at the end of that game, and then it was just like we can't because he's crazy after that pass to start the second half. I mean, that's the worst pass I have ever seen somebody throw in my entire life. He is on the sideline going out of bounds and just heaves it to the other sideline. There's 5 defenders over there. And then he scores.
By the way, not to interrupt, but the best part is after the game, he said, I've made that pass before. I've made that throw before. He said, like it was a great idea. Even after he did that, he's like, it was still a good idea. Sorry,
I
go
think
ahead.
in his mind he thinks he can make that thing. But
Exactly.
yeah, no, that's dumb. But then he could score 28 unanswered and just dominate the last 20 minutes of the game. So
It's so much fun
like you said,
watching
you
him
got
play.
to take the good with the bad. To me, this team is the opposite of the 2017 team. In 2017, you had the defense just dominating. They had like 4-5 sacks a game, turnovers left and right. The offense did just enough to get the win. This team, I mean, it's like, yeah, they can score 60 any night if they're firing on all cylinders. And the defense just hopefully doesn't give up too much. But this bend don't break type of defense, the problem is there's been a few too many breaks the last couple of games. That's what they got to get fixed. And to me, I don't know, maybe it was just me. We were at the game, sometimes you don't get the best views, but it seemed like the defense would go flat across the field. And like you just had one-on-ones with nobody to back anything up. So if somebody missed a tackle, it's a 50, 60, 70-yard gain. And those 4 plays that happened, there just wasn't anyone behind the play. They weren't even, one of them was a deep bomb, but even on that, there was no safety. There was no backup coverage there. It was just one-on-one down the field. And our secondary isn't good enough to not have any backup down the field. And I think that's something they're going to have to work on because, Cal doesn't have the greatest receivers or passing game, but, there are teams out there, Syracuse, Louisville, even I hate to say it, FSU to a point, they do have some receivers that can get behind you. They got to figure out, I like the aggressiveness, but they either got to get home and get to the quarterback, get them rushed, or make sure that they got somebody over the top who can get it done. Because one missed tackle, and I mean, they 4 plays, they gave up 70% of the offense on it. It's not like Louisville or Cal was just consistently gaining yards. They just had 4 massive plays against us that turned the game, plus Cam's turnover.
And
I don't know what you guys think.
There should have been another one. Remember in the second half, the receiver dropped one of the few passes in the end zone. You remember that play?
Yeah,
game's over if he catches that, and it was in his hands.
There was that screenplay too,
and the screenplay they dropped. Yeah, they barely passed the ball in the second half, but those 2 plays should have been explosive plays also. So it's not just 4 explosive plays; it's really 6.
Yeah,
that they just either one of those hits, they don't win. The Canes don't win.
Yeah, correct.
No doubt about it. But
that's how close we are to having had this season compromised in a big time way. And but Jake, do you agree with me that that they have a lot of upside here in the second half of the season?
I'm 100% with you. You look, the offensive line was supposed to be good this year. Thus far, very mediocre. What's the deal? I mean, these Mario scouting reports or injury reports, it's like, the guy could be, he says the guy's ready to come back. He could be dead for all we know.
Now, day to day means out for the season. Week to week means he may never return to the team.
Yeah.
And he's playing this week means maybe he'll play this week. That's the if you have the code with the actual meaning, that's what those phrases mean. Mario speaks.
Yeah, I mean, if he says someone's doubtful, I mean, they're probably eating out of a feeding tube. You gotta figure. I mean, it's something else with this. But like getting Jalen Rivers back, how much of a difference that could make. Yeah. And even this last game, I think you just saw this offensive line's been kind of a mishmash this season. These guys hadn't played together. I think you kind of saw it come together a little bit. Markel Bell finally started getting his act together. The defensive line's been a little bit quiet. Now, I think, part of that, I think the secondary is just they're letting guys get open too quickly, and we can't get home to the quarterback. But there's a lot of meat left on the bone. Ruben Bain looked a little rusty, but you could tell, give him a week or 2, he'll be back to form. There's so much more. Damian Martinez, I agree with you 100%, Gary. look, is that guy going to be breaking off 70, 80-yard runs, big-time plays? Probably not, but he gives you a lot as a pass blocker.
I've watched him do it several times in practice.
50 yards receiving. He had a couple of huge catches in that game. So, you know, he brings more to the table than just what he's doing as the run. And he always goes forward. You never catch that guy behind the line of scrimmage. So if you need those 2 yards, you know, I'd say it's better to have a guy. How many in the last couple of years, 5 years, how many 3rd and 1s, 4th and 1s have we missed because guys are getting blown up behind the line of scrimmage? So, you know, I'd rather have the guy than not. Was he worth what you paid for him? You could debate that all day long. But he's on the team. I'd rather have him than not have him. Maybe Fletcher.
Let me ask you, why do you think the offensive line is underperforming when they're averaging 5.6 yards per carry, right? Half a yard better than last year. They're averaging the same amount of sacks basically as last year given up. Cam Ward's getting all kinds of time to throw. Like, I don't understand why there's this perception the offensive line is so bad.
These last 2 games, Cam's been under some pressure. I'd also say if you take out FAMU and Ball State, that 5.6 per carry is probably going to come down.
They averaged that. They averaged over that against Cal. They averaged over 5.6 yards a carry, right?
I don't think they had a particularly great run defense, if I'm not mistaken. But
no, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm saying, like, it's not like Cal and, you know, it's not like Cal shut him down.
Look, the offensive line, are they horrible? Absolutely not. Are they what we expected them to be? Cam's been under a lot more pressure than, like, Van Dyke had lots of time. Emory Williams last year. The pass blocking's been solid this year. It hasn't been outstanding like it was last year. The run game has taken it's gone up a notch, but there's still, I think, a lot of meat left on that bone. You haven't had any big time, other than against Ball State and FAMU, haven't had any big time runs. I think it's coming. I think it'll get there.
No, I don't disagree. They can be better. But I just don't think that, like, so you're not saying they're bad. You're saying they're, like, sort of average to above average.
I think I'd grade them out at a B-. Okay. I think they could be B+.
I'm giving them a B+ when we do our offensive line midseason grades, just so you know.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh, Matt, you're getting soft, man.
I guess so. I'm an easy grader. I mean, the offense,
you used to be the enforcer. You're getting soft.
I mean, it's for real. But I mean, the offense is clicking so well, and you can't do that with a bad offensive line. If this offensive line was not good, there's no way they're averaging 48 points a game. So, like, there's something they're doing right. Just period.
They're
no question.
Very good in pass blocking, and they're getting better in run blocking.
If they get their pass blocking to where it was last year, and just elevate the run game a little bit more, imagine how much more effective this offense could be.
I will tell you, Cam Ward is a guy who gets sacked a lot. Look, he was sacked at Washington State last year. I think it was over 35 times. It was a ridiculous amount of times he was sacked last year because he stands there, if you noticed. So, like, it might look sometimes like he's getting pressured. A lot of quarterbacks will take the check down on a blitz right away, and you never even notice he get pressured.
The whole
stands there against the all-out blitz and waits.
First half, I was screaming my lungs out with every obscenity you could imagine. Either throw it away or check it down. Quit, like, he's ducking and weaving to avoid these.
Right. He has ultimate faith in his own ability to escape any situation, which is why he looks for. He welcomes the blitz because he thinks he's going to have guys one-on-one down the field and he just wait for it or run to the left, run to the right away from somebody, and then hit the guy. So, like, and he does it a lot, you know. So it makes the offensive line, I feel like, look worse sometimes than it actually is. I just want to point that out. That's all.
What do you guys think too? You know, because this is 2 massive fourth quarter comebacks in a row. I think for a lot of these teams, we're going to be the Super Bowl this year. Everyone wants to take out Miami, and it just seems like these teams are coming out blazing. They're coming at you, and they're giving us everything they got in the first half. Even the third quarter, they got some energy coming out of the locker room, but then just 2 weeks in a row, full fourth quarter collapses. You could blame some of it on coaching, execution, this and that, but I think these teams are coming hard at us, and I think that could be a game plan thing where it's just like, hey, we gotta hold this off a little bit. We got the better conditioning, we got the better players, we got the better athletes. Hold them back. They're going to come at you. and let's not have to come from so far behind or ideally be ahead. I don't know what you guys think about that, but it just seems like these guys are coming out swinging and they run out of steam at the end of the game.
Hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to Adam's wife or girlfriend who's drifted into the studio, and let her know we are going to get to him shortly, and you will see his starring moment. I promise. But hello.
And yes,
right.
Jake, I agree with you. Of course, yeah, teams are acting like Miami's the Super Bowl for sure. And you know what? It's not. It's always that way, even when Miami's bad. Everyone wants to kill Miami. It's so rude.
We're Darth Vader. That's what I love
Correct.
about them. We're the bad guy, and that's what I love about this team. But I do think like these guys are just. You even saw it with USF. Just everyone's coming out swinging as hard as they can, and then they just punch themselves out, and then we just put them to the floor. But yeah, they're going to have to adjust to that because I think if we keep winning, it's only going to get more and more and more extreme on that. I think so. We'll see what happens. Couple of Malachi Tony. We were talking a little recruiting. Is that kid like done for? I know we just got that big commit from Josh.
Pretty
Moore.
much done. It looks like it's done. He just
okay.
Yeah.
Is that like a moving on, or he's just?
I think they just, he probably wanted more money. He probably was making, leveraging and stuff. And Miami's not really doing that anymore.
Playing the game. Hey, I like it.
Yeah, they're not really going to play those games with too many kids anymore because, you have to have some common sense to what you're doing. And, high school kids that have not played down to college football, that haven't proven that they can do it at that level, don't have the kind of value that they always think they have.
Yeah, especially at 5'9". That's that's a gamble.
Yeah.
Last thing I was just thinking to this offense and how special this is. That game-winning drive that was 93 yards. We did it in 64 seconds. I mean, when was the last time you saw this team just score at will like this? This is wild. I'm gonna enjoy it. I'm with you guys. I think 11-1, but I don't know if we win these next 2 weeks. I think 12-0 is the bar.
If they beat Louisville on the road in what I think is going to be the monster that I expect it to be, 12-0 becomes on the radar in my opinion. But they got to keep getting progressively better. All right, Jake, we're going to let you go. Salute and
good talking as always.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next time. All right, Matt, it's time to let you go to bed.
Nice.
So after all this,
I'm gonna have nightmares of Greg now. I can't keep coming on the show.
Yeah, Matt.
No, Matt Shodell's a moron.
Parting thoughts. I mean, like I don't know. They got 10 days, 11 days to figure this out. But is putting it all on Cam's shoulders really the best thing for this team in the big picture? I'd like to see them strike a little bit more of a balance. They have the players to do it, but you're not wrong in that, maybe he is at his best when it is all about him, So
I mean, that's just what it seems like to me. He seems to respond, and look, to Jake's point that he's didn't feel like Cam seemed any different than ever before. And yeah, Cam is a chill guy, right? But I've seen Cam in practices, like he's not that chill. He might seem chill to you guys watching the game. He's not chill. Okay. He's very intense. He's a competitor. Okay. He yells, he gets in people's faces. He wants to win. And I don't know. It was just, they did a close up of him and just the way he was walking. He didn't look as into the game as I have normally seen him from practices and in games. And maybe it's just me putting my own insecurities upon Cam. That's certainly possible. I do that to a lot of people. But the fact is, when the game was not put on his shoulder, this is a fact, in the first half, he did not play very well. And when the game was put on his shoulders in the second half, he played extremely well, except for one pass. And he played extremely well in the exact same scenarios every other game this season, that he was called upon to throw 60, 70% of the time. So what was different in the first half? was that it was the first time we saw Miami say, we're just going to run the ball. Like, we don't need to pass against Cal. We're just going to run it. And he didn't look like the same guy for that half. So to me, that speaks for itself, regardless of me perhaps thinking he was slunking the shoulders, walking around the field, and didn't look that into it.
But do you minimize Mark Fletcher? Do you minimize Damian Martinez?
I think you have to, because if you don't have Cam Ward invested and really playing free football the way he does, you're not going to win every game. You need the Cam Ward that we've seen from Krypton for these last 6 games. You can't have the guy who's just handing the ball off, throwing third down, hand the ball off, throwing third down. That's not him.
So you just ignore the fact.
I think he gets bored.
You needed 12 miracles to get out of Cal. That if any one of them didn't come through, you lose. And you needed this very similar scenario against Virginia Tech. Do you get so distracted by the wins that you don't go introspection and realize that maybe this miracle ball is not going to get you to where you want to go?
Listen, I think if they lean on the run a lot, I think they're going to be playing a lot of close games. I think if they lean on Cam Ward, they'll be blowing teams out. That's just how I personally feel. Could I be wrong? No, I'm never wrong. So that's what they should do. Listen to Matt Shodell, and they'll win every game. All
right. We will, for now, until you're wrong. And then we're going to let you have it. All right, Matt. Good job. We'll thanks for being part of the show, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, Greg.
All right. Now it's time to bring in the voice of the fan.
Yep.
It's Warner.
Rid of that color.
To the stage. And, Bruce, my man Adam, he's clearly being summoned to do the dishes or something. So we got to go. We got to do this quick so I can get to him. But,
okay.
Your opening thoughts, just in general on your impressions from the win at Cal.
Scary. But listen, we won the game. I understand all that. I agree with you. There's room for improvement, especially on the defensive side of the ball. As I texted you before, I was talking to Tremaine Mack this morning. He was talking about the DBs, and he was saying things like they were checking things, looking at things that wasn't there. They took a complete advantage of our over pursuit or over aggressiveness. They took bad angles. The offensive coordinator for Cal did a great job in the first half. They had a lot of guys wide open too, not just us, but they did. And that's a problem. Now, do they go to a zone and just rely on the 4-man pass rush? They could. They don't have a lockdown corner. We all know that. So they had safeties. They had Mish covering receivers. Can't do that. They need to keep the safeties back. I would think they may go to a zone or more of a zone than the man. But I also think that the pass rush was hurt last week. Bain first game back. Alston not there. Alston's been in the backfield. He may have made a bad or a dumb play, a bonehead play.
But he gets back there.
But he's back there constantly.
Yes.
And I know that Barron he's hurt. He was dragging a little bit,
Not been the same. Yep.
So, listen, I think they'll all be back next week. I expect the defense to be better. They'll make some changes in the secondary. Mauanoa, maybe he's guessing. I don't know. He's trying to be all over the field. But the bottom line is that in the second half, whether it was the coordinator for Cal making it a very conservative second half, but we came back. We stopped them. Even last week's game, we haven't had that many 3-and-outs against the opponent. They've been really coming up with some great plays. They have an answer for our defense almost every time. But in the last half of the third quarter and the fourth quarter, we dominated this game. I really think that in the next week, we'll be ready to play Louisville. And I think we beat them by at least 10 points. It's not going to be a nail biter. I just don't see it. I don't think they're as good as us. Our offense is pretty much unstoppable. Now, here's what I would add to the offense, Gary. To me, Fletcher's better than Martinez. It doesn't matter what anybody says. That's my opinion. But I want to see the other guys get in the backfield. I want to see Chris Johnson get more touches, especially in the flat. He doesn't have to run all the time. And Jordan Lyle needs to be in the backfield because here's a kid who could take one step to his left, bounce it to the outside, and go 91 yards.
Hard to play 4 running backs.
What?
It's very hard to play 4 running backs.
But you got to do something. You just can't be as off tackle constantly like Martinez. You know, even Fletcher could bounce it to the outside. But they got to do something a little different offensively. They got to show them different looks.
That's why I think this team's just scratching the surface. I don't think they're close to peaking yet.
Right, but they need to make a few adjustments. Don't just keep thinking they're going to get better because it's another week. I think those kids need to play. They have speed. They have moves. And, you know, Martinez and Fletcher, it's like 1A and 1B, I guess. But I just think Fletcher's having a better year. Breaks tackles, gets to the outside. And did you see the pass that they threw to Martinez? It hit him in his hand. He went like this, like it's my fault. He didn't even move for the ball.
Oh, but he had another huge play. I mean, he's been doing
had
okay.
Big plays, right? Yeah, I know.
He's been doing all right. He's just not getting the opportunities that he's gotten in the past, so his numbers are down.
Well, he's not carrying it 25 times, but when you're out there, you better make something happen. But I like Lyle and I like Chris Johnson. I think they need to be in the game more because their speed out of the backfield is a total mismatch for linebackers, where the other two guys, it's not a total mismatch.
All right, I got to go to Adam here. He's been waiting so patiently.
Thanks, Gary.
Wait, I got to do something here because we got to get your significant other there in the shot. There she is. Wife or girlfriend? I don't want to be presumptuous.
She's my wife.
Oh,
thank you for loaning him to us on Tuesday nights. We appreciate it. His input
and
is
she loans me out on Saturdays to watch Canes games, so I'm fortunate for that.
Very important, and his contributions to the show are irreplaceable. So we do appreciate your contribution to the equation here. And so, Adam, what you got for us this week?
A couple things. One, what has Mario said just about the really dumb unsportsmanlike, like the Horton unsportsmanlike on the last drive, Jacoby George a number of times this year? What has he said about that? I mean, I get some are just
he hates it.
He hates it.
He can't stand it. But I will tell you this: those guys are benefiting from the lack of depth we have at receiver. Because the normal Mario would be jerking those guys out of the game. So I mean, think about this. Forget about all the Jacoby George nonsense that's been going on for multiple seasons now, that they spend the whole offseason talking about to him and working with him and making him understand how much he hurts the team every time he gets a penalty. And then he comes out this year and his antics are again an issue. Okay. I mean, the normal Mario would be jerking that guy out of the game so fast. He needs Jacoby George. If you're going to play the way they're playing with Cam Ward freelancing it every play and doing the things they're doing, you need Jacoby George out there. They don't have a guy to replace him. You know, the Horton play the other night, they're going and trying to win the game. I think he kicked somebody from the other team. I mean, are you kidding me? Like that.
Well, he was trying to get him off, so he kicked his leg up. He was laying on him. He wanted him off.
You can't do that. You can't kick. You know, and you got your season on the line, you know, in that situation. And the normal Mario would be yanking those guys out of the game so fast, but he doesn't have the depth right now to be the normal Mario. And this is a potentially special team that they're trying to win with. And so he's having to, I don't want to, I mean, Mario isn't going soft, you know, we're not definitely not going soft, but he can't probably be the disciplinarian that he would like to be.
So that means we don't have confidence in like a Shamar Kirk or JoJo Trader and Nike.
They're not at the same level, you know, right now. You know, JoJo is going to be a good player. I'm not 100% sure how healthy he really is. And,
okay.
You know, it's just it's unproven depth. It's not, you know, you're life or death to win these games, unfortunately, due to all the circumstances, and they just don't have the depth that you know they would like to have.
And also, they're not good blockers. Nykar's, he's thin. You know, they're kids. They're not really ready for this.
They're all in developmental mode.
Yeah,
well,
they
isn't
will.
Shamar Kirk like a junior?
Yeah.
I like him. I think he's good, but again, I don't know what he does going downfield. They're set with what they have. They're not going to change it unless somebody gets hurt.
Yeah. Shamar Kirk will probably play more next year.
Yeah.
Right now, it's the Restrepo show in the slot.
Okay.
You know, he'll have a chance to play in the slot, I think, next year.
Well, him and Ray. a couple other things. I did like how quick in the pocket. Ward did this a few times with Martinez, where he steps up and then does like a quick little flip pass. And the huge one was the 3rd and 20. So for all of people saying, "Oh, Martinez shouldn't be in," he's amazing catching the ball out of the backfield.
Very good player. Just not getting the holes on the plays where he's called on. He's having to play, grinded out power football up the middle, and it's not, resulting in big games. But I've seen him on multiple occasions in practice go 80 yards. So he's
I'm more impressed with his hands out of the backfield than anything else.
Yeah, he's very good.
I would say he's probably our best pass catching running back right now that I've seen.
Yeah. And the way this season is going, I don't know that he's going to be able to go to the NFL at the end of the season.
That was going to be my point, Gary. I don't think he's showing these scouts that he should be.
No, I think he'll be back next year.
I agree.
But then you have the same timeshare next year with Fletcher and Martinez.
It'll be the same.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be back.
Chris Johnson. Yeah.
Real quick on that. And then I'll get back to my couple other points. Do you see, because I've heard rumors that we might go portal shopping in the offseason, or do you see just Cam handing it over or Mario handing it over to Emery?
That's a great question. I think that decision maybe has not been made yet and should not have been made yet. I think you got to wait and see who's in the portal.
Right.
You can't make that decision now. Like, you don't know who's going to be in the portal, and you haven't evaluated them against, versus Emery. I don't think you're violating Emery if you bring in competition for him. The guy that I think will go to the portal possibly again is Reese. I don't know. I don't know if he'll stick this thing out. If it works out the way I think it does, and it'll be clear to him that Emery is better. If I'm right about that, he may go to the portal sooner than later and look for a different situation for himself. And then you need to bring in somebody from the portal to compete with Emery. So we'll see what happens. I don't think that has to be made yet, and I don't think I would be surprised if it has been made yet.
As I mentioned last week, though, and Adam, if they bring in somebody who's definitely going to start, maybe Emery Williams bolts. We don't know. And I think that's something that's on their mind. They don't want him to leave. They really like this kid. But again, they have to test the water. They have to see who's out there and who wants to come here. But it's not going to be easy replacing Cam Ward. That's for sure.
No, and I'm not saying it is. I mean, and again, my fandom goes back a long way. It wasn't easy replacing Ken Dorsey with Brock Berlin, or even further back like Craig Erickson with Gino Torretta. But that's
Craig Erickson was after Steve Walsh. Then came Gino.
Yeah. No, I know. But
the other thing you have to think about, Adam, is with the success that Cam Ward is having this year, this figures to be a very, very desirable destination for any free agent, as Matt Shodell likes to say.
Yeah.
That's going to be that would be in the portal. So I don't think you just flat out say, "Oh, we love Emery Williams," which they do. And just say, "Oh man, like we're not going to bring in somebody to compete with him if we see somebody great out there," because I don't think you can run an organization like that.
Right, that would be foolish.
And I'm a huge Emery fan. I think he's a great kid, and I think he's a great quarterback, and he's going to have 3 years of eligibility left after this season. And I hope he doesn't get impatient and leave, and maybe he will be the quarterback next year. But I don't think you close your eyes to the rest of the world. Look at what Cam Ward has meant to the program this year.
True. And lastly, do you see any DBs getting like burned, like a Ryan Mack, or any of the DBs who we haven't heard of yet getting some run as the season progresses?
That's a tough question. Like a Ryan Mack maybe could, eventually,
or a Dylan Day. What's his name?
Dylan Day is another one that's impressed me on special teams.
But he's a special teamer, yeah.
But I can't predict.
What about Stafford? What happened
to Robert Stafford?
Yeah, what happened to Stafford? He's like
clearly they don't believe. Yeah, they clearly don't believe he's ready, or they would have played him a lot more, already.
Yeah.
Or that walk-on from Chicago who got the pick in South Florida, who everybody was.
Moo Young?
But I mean, you're not going to bench one of your other guys. The biggest thing that can happen in defensive backfield is Damari Brown making it back. I don't know what the timeline might be on that.
if there is
Okay.
one.
Well, thanks for.
We want to hear from your wife. Doesn't she have a question?
Do you have any questions?
Oh, the screen got much better looking now.
Thank
Oh my
you.
goodness, you're being kind. I just woke up and put in our little baby on the sleep.
Do you have any
Right.
questions, or
You got any
Oh my
questions?
goodness.
Are you a Canes fan?
Ay, and a Panthers and a Dolphins.
She's a South Florida sports fan. I've
Okay.
converted her.
All right. All right, Adam. Well, thank you for being part of the show. Thank you to your wife for letting you be part of the show, and we'll talk to you next
Have
time.
a good night.
All right,
How
Adam.
you guys?
Wow.
Wow.
All right, Bruce, we got a ton of stuff that we'll cover on the questions and stuff. But first, I want to go to my man, Sebastian. He's been waiting forever there for his moment. So let's wait a minute. What do you
got there?
What do you got there?
Man, I got some pasta, man. I was about to sacrifice dinner. I was just like, I mean, it's between.
What's that, garlic bread?
Garlic toast?
Yeah, garlic toast. Yeah.
Oh, wow. What's that on top? What are you glazing it with there?
I got some pasta. My wife made
Yeah,
some.
oh, that's pasta on top of the garlic toast. Oh, all right. What's going on, man? What do you think? What do you got for us?
Yeah, nothing much, man. I mean, we were cardiac kids last week, having to stay up till 2 a.m.
Did you make it? Did you
I
stay up for the whole
I
game?
didn't make it to California, but I mean, I watched the game.
No, but did you stay up for the whole game?
Oh yeah, I stayed up for
A
the
lot
whole
of people didn't.
Yeah.
A lot of fans did not.
They turned it off.
Mine from she spent the week in Oakland, her job center out there, and it's crazy because she said there was a lot of Canes fans like on the flight, coming from Atlanta, going all the way to California, and then there was a lot of Canes fans that was in her hotel while she was out there. So she really had a good time, and looks like a lot of fans did as well. Mm-hmm. It feels good when you go that far and come back with a W than if you go that far and come back with an L. So that's what I want to talk about tonight. Whether we're down 25 points in the second half and we end up winning by 1 point, this is college football, and there's a lot of parity that's out there. I mean, you look through this weekend of all the teams that lost. You got Alabama losing in Nashville to Vanderbilt. You got Tennessee losing at Arkansas. You got Missouri, top 10 team, gets schwacked by Texas A&M. So it just kind of puts in perspective how you feel about your team. I mean, trust me, I'd love for us to be blowing everybody out 40-10 every single week. But this transfer portal in this day and age, it's hard. It's hard to be where you're at. And so at the midway point of the season, we could be doing one or two things. We could be celebrating being halfway through the season at 6-0. Or we could be getting ready to sing Mary J. Blige's Misery, being 4-2 and 0-2 in the ACC. What do you think about that, Gary?
It was therapy, not misery, but
yeah.
But yeah, no, we're not whipping that back out. But yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I think right now the Canes are fighting the Canes, and they need to understand that they got very fortunate these last 2 weeks. Kudos to them for not quitting, hanging in there, fighting back. It's a phenomenal story. It's very dramatic. Say anything you want about it. But to me, the key for the second half of the season is getting better. Mm-hmm. And it starts big time in this next game. This is the game I've had circled since the schedule came out. I have enormous respect for Coach Brahm and his ability to dial up offense. And I think the Miami defense has shown weakness where their strength is. And this is going to be a big challenge, I think. Could be wrong. I don't know that their defense is great, but their offense is certainly very, very good. They got a good, big offensive line. They can run the football.
They got good wideouts on the edge.
Yeah.
The quarterback's in his 7th year.
Yeah. A guy that Mario recruited at Oregon, by the way.
Do we need to have this 2-week break? I think the answer is yes. They needed this break. People were screaming, we don't need to buy. Yeah, we need to buy. They need to buy to clear their heads, get their heads on straight, and make the second part of the season look like the Gator game. Go out there and just kick people's rear ends all over the field. Yeah. And just don't make dumb mistakes and don't get caught up in things. They have to be able to see what's in front of them and not bite on things, because there was a lot of play fakes and there was a lot of look. This quarterback was looking our guys off, and we bit. That's got to be they got to have that diligence with their eyes to make sure they don't do things like that, because they had 4 plays over 50 yards. And I think almost every one of them, the guys were wide open, not like somebody draped on them, but there was nobody near them. That's bad.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the Middle Tennessee State game. Remember, Gary, we did the post-game show. There was like 6 bombs in that game.
Yeah.
No adjustments.
I'll tell you something else I saw as well. I'm really happy that we're going to get a chance to play Louisville, and they don't have a bye. They don't have 2 weeks to prepare for us.
Right.
And we have 2 weeks to prepare for them. There's 2 things I'm looking for in the second half of the season. 1, can we get better? And number 2, can we stay healthy? I just don't think we have enough depth at certain key spots that if injuries starts to take effect, that can kind of torpedo our season or circumvent the potential of what we have in a great season. The other thing that I think works in our favor is we've been getting good tight end play this year. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to help the defense when they go up against Louisville, because if you remember that game last year, those tight ends ate our lunch, and it looked like our defense just didn't know how to cover those guys. So yeah, I'm hoping.
Also, Brom, he's an expert at misdirection. That's what they did against us with the Cal team. A lot of misdirection, taking advantage of over pursuit and being overly aggressive, and we got caught with our pants down multiple times.
Yeah, but I also thought Lance Gentry. I thought the offensive coordinator got the best of Lance Gentry last week. I'll give you an example. When they try to do what's called the quarterback sneak or whatever, and they call the timeout, trying to run it up the middle, and to just leave that running back against Tyler Barron, that he broke away for that 66-yard touchdown. I'm like, come on now. I mean, sacrifice the first down, but don't sacrifice the touchdown, And so I thought Lance Gentry kind of got out-coached. I don't know if that's what you saw, Gary, but I kind of felt like he got out-coached.
I mean, I don't want to go to that degree because I don't know what those kids were supposed to be doing when they were getting torched. But if out-coached is the word, I think it was because the scheme might have been a little bit too tough for our kids, and that they were making mentals, and like all you got to do is make a mental for a half a second, and those tight ends and receivers are gone, and you're racing from behind. So he's got to have to look at a lot of things here in this open week as he carves out his plan for the second half of the season with this current set of personnel.
Yeah. I can't think of our safety's name, the one that came over from Washington.
Mish Powell.
Do you think he's wearing down?
He's all over the field. I don't know if that's where he's supposed to be, but he
had a bad week.
I mean,
he had a bad week.
Yeah, I can't imagine wearing down is the reason, but he was having a rough time out there.
Yeah,
doesn't seem to have a lot of speed, necessarily. But I mean, I don't want to diminish him because he played so well in some of the games earlier in the year.
Oh no! His balled out. The first 4 games, but the last 2 games, I just kind of felt like
has not been as effective.
I don't backs him up. Whereas sometimes you just need like a blow. Like I think sometimes Kiko Magoa needs a blow every now and then before he gets out. I mean, you're chasing quarterbacks, chasing running backs. You're gonna get tired. In the kind of moving forward. So how excited are you guys about this commit that we got for Joshua Moore? I've been kind of tracking that. I'm really happy to see him on board. I would love to get Dallas Wilson, and I think we'll be set at the wide receiver spot. But how excited are you with
me? I'm very excited, Sebastian. Yeah. Listen, I was not that disappointed that Malachi Toney left. I think we have enough slot guys to choke a horse, but another big receiver in the mold of Isaiah Horton to me is very important. And so I like this. I would like to get Dallas Wilson. That would be nice too. I heard he's wearing Miami gear, whatever, but that doesn't mean much. But that would be nice to get another one of those receivers and still wind up with Solomon Thomas from Florida State for the offensive line. I don't know who else. I don't know what's going to happen with.
I'd like to get Wiley, and I'd like to get.
Yeah, well, I think Wiley's probably going to be here.
I'd like to get Dallas Wilson. Those are probably the 2 big ones that I'd like to see kind of come into the fold. if we get all those players that we got committed, I'll be somewhat satisfied. Before you guys,
I don't think we're out of the woods yet for Pickett either. I still think we're in it.
I hope so. I hope so.
I think they'll get Pickett. That's my opinion.
I think so too.
See.
Gary, you got to talk to me about this. This is something I've been seeing, and it's beginning to bubble up, and that's Jacoby George. You know, he seems like his head was on straight at the beginning of the year, but as I've been watching the games, these last probably 4 games, it's like he starts off. Maybe that's what he needs to get himself going, but he's like jawing at the defensive backs.
And they're drawing at him. They're getting to him. They're getting in his head, and he's retaliating like a dummy.
Cal clearly was out to bait him and anybody else they could the other day.
Good point, though, Sebastian. But he's falling for the bait.
Cal was doing that to all of our players, but this is a guy. I think he's a junior or a senior. I mean, he's that. I mean, he's been in the program for a long time. He's a starter. He's a leader. And
he's a hothead.
But what I'm concerned about Jacoby George, I don't know if he realizes that there's some talent behind him.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, it's not like we're facing a year where we can't like sit him on the pine. I mean, if you saw the splits between him and Horton, you know, I mean, they were just about even, and I'm sure they want to get JoJo Trader out on the field as well.
I don't know about that.
I don't know if JoJo.
Oh, Trader, yeah. But Trader had an injury, and I don't know if he's healed.
I mean, he played, I think, one play the other night.
Yeah. One play.
In an emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how concerned are you guys with Jacoby George? Because I mean,
very concerned. Like these things are going to cost them a game soon. Like the Horton thing the other night. Like I said, that was a disaster. Like you're trying to win the game and he's kicking his feet. Like you can't do these things. Got to be more disciplined. They've gotten away with everything here the first half of the season. I'm not sure that they will continue to have every break go their way like this. They got to be more solid.
I think this is what the bye week can really rein in. I mean, if Mara is able to sit his team down and say, look, for the first half of the season, this is where we wanted to be. But if we want to be at the promised land on the second half of the season, these are the little things that we got to clean up. Because if you don't, you see the difference between winning or losing is so minute. It's a player here, there. It's whether or not you can keep your composure. Is whether or not, you know, you play like a professional and not play like a hothead. Because, you know, if we're 10-2 or 11-1 and we're in the playoffs, I think we've had a successful season because you give yourself a chance and anything can happen when you go from there. So
as long as you're in Charlotte and obviously the playoff, then it's a successful season.
Right.
Anything less than that would be a disappointment considering the level of the team and you know where they are here at the midway point.
Aside from Louisville, are you guys concerned about any other game on our schedule?
I think several of them are going to be able to give them games. You know, Georgia Tech on the road, Syracuse on the road. You know, those two for starters. Florida State's been terrible. I mean, but they do have enough talent to rise up and play a good game. They will be motivated for Miami. We'll see what happens. They beat Cal.
Yes,
they
did.
You got to respect that.
And Duke just lost the other day, but you know it's Manny Diaz. I don't think they're going to beat us.
But we're not sleepwalking. Not sleepwalking against Duke. I think Duke is going to be a very competitive game.
Yeah.
So listen, if we're 11-0, we go to Syracuse playing indoors. I don't think they're going to beat us because that's pretty much for all the marbles to go to Charlotte. So.
But if Syracuse is 10-1,
I still think we're going to.
Now we're playing Syracuse.
I still think we're going to beat them. I don't know how anybody's going to stop this offense. We stop ourselves. That's pretty much it. The defense has to be fixed. What do you think about Gary? What do you think about going to a zone and make it? You know, it'll be a little more bend and don't break, but still, we're not going to get burned.
I think particularly this week they might need to.
Yeah,
they might need to.
You know, the pass rush was dominant most of those games, but in the last 2 games, it's been hit and miss.
Hasn't been as good. Yeah, I mean, you know, Bain to me showed some rust last week. He'll be better in 2 weeks. Barron hasn't played well the last couple weeks. You know, they got to get Alston back, but I think they'll have everybody ready to go for Louisville.
All right.
Yeah, I think they'll be ready for Louisville.
Rivers in the lineup next week against Louisville. I think we need him.
Yeah.
I would be shocked if he's not starting. Shocked.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call, buddy.
Hey,
All right.
thanks.
All right, Sebastian.
Stay safe.
Bye.
I
All
don't
right,
know where
Bruce,
he's at.
let's go through some of the comments and questions on the chat here. Let's see. Hurricane Denny, he says he thinks Miami needs to stay disciplined with the run game. We were debating this early in the show before you came on. It's an interesting dynamic. Cam Ward seems to be at his best, and the Miami offense seems to be putting up the most yards and scoring the most points when it's freewheeling, when it's improvisational offense, and they're winging it almost every play without a commitment to the run game. But you have talent like Mark Fletcher, Damian Martinez, that I don't think that you can just minimize, number one. And number two, when the competition gets better down the road, I think you need to be able to run the football at times to have a chance to win those games. Your thoughts?
Not disagreeing, but I don't want this between the tackles or off the guards all the time. They've got to get to the outside, and they have people that can do it. So why not put them in? You're the one that says we don't have to have a 1 and a 2, but it doesn't matter. If these guys are on a team and Chris Johnson can get to the outside or Lyle can get to the outside, let them get in the game. Let them play. That'll make the other teams that we play in the future look, oh my God, it's not just up the gut. They're not having 7, 8 guys in the box. And so they've got to be able to get these guys away from the line of scrimmage. And they're not doing it by running it up the gut all the time.
There was one outside run I remember last week. Probably could use a few more.
Well, there was one with Fletcher. He turned it to the outside, and he had maybe an 18-yard gain, but that's it.
Yeah. No argument.
And more screens.
Add some versatility to the run game. Maybe use some more screens. Yes. All right. Junior Bar says the secondary is garbage. Are they garbage, Bruce, or did they just have a bad night the other night?
They're not that good. They're not garbage, but they're not that good. And if you don't have the pass rush, it makes it even more difficult. But again, somebody just agreed with me, and I got this from Tremaine Mack. Their eye discipline was horrible. You could just see it. And if you watch the replays, you could see it. There was one time where there was 2 receivers to the quarterback's left for Cal and 2 DBs. Both DBs chased the one guy crossing the middle, and then finally the safety had to come over and catch the guy running for a touchdown, 50 yards down the field. They can't do that. Yeah. You just can't do that. But so they need to work on it. And if they can't correct it, if they don't have a lockdown corner, which they don't seem to have, they better go to a zone because they need to keep everything in front of them. Make these teams earn it, especially with our pass rush. Don't give them cheap touchdowns.
Christopher Wright, and this was before you were on, but we were talking about all the luck that Miami's had the last few weeks, and they've had a lot of luck. I mean, there were like a lot of plays these last 2 weeks that could have gone one way or the other. If Restrepo doesn't catch the ball lying on his back, there were a lot of single plays that involved some luck that went Miami's way. They've all been going Miami's way almost, that have allowed them to get out of Dodge in these last 2 games. Nobody's disrespecting anybody, Chris.
Yeah. No, I love the way they're playing. They were lucky last week, Cal. I thought we had a sack, and it looks like Barron grabbed the face mask instead of a 4th down. They got a 1st down out of it. Fortunately, we came back and scored, but still, I don't know if that's luck. It was just a bad luck for us. I guess we were lucky. It depends on how you look at it. With the Besainth tackle, I still think it was shoulder to shoulder, and then the heads collided, but I don't think it was targeting, and it wasn't called. But a lot of people say that was luck, or the refs giving us a break.
So Christ Sullivan says the bottom line is 6-0, and that's all that matters. Bruce, I don't agree. I think if you just look at we're 6-0, everything's great, hunky dory. No. And first of all, there's no chance Mario Cristobal's doing it.
I was just going to say the same thing. There's not a chance in the world.
Not a chance in hell, okay? No way. That they're just going to waste this open week and not look at every way that they can to get better. That's what's not happening, okay? No. But I think they need to get better. I think they can get better. I don't even think they're close to peaking. I think they're just scratching the surface. And, hopefully we will see a more consistently great Canes team in the second half of the season. Can we finally pencil in Mark Fletcher as RB1? Bruce, I've said from the beginning there doesn't have to be an RB1. They have several good backs. Martinez has not been able to show out like he was expected. Fletcher did the last game. The game before, not so much. Fletcher had a great game against Cal. Does he have to be RB1, or should they keep using the backs the way they're using them?
I think they're going to put Martinez back as the one, if you want to call it that, the starter. I'll call it the starter. After that, it's anybody's guess, but I'm not going to change my opinion. They need to put Johnson in there, and they need to get Jordan Lyle in the game. They need speed from the running back position, or put one of those two guys in the backfield with Fletcher or Martinez. Let them figure that out, because that's what I think they need to do. They need to be a little more diversified on offense. They have enough talent. We need to have a coordinator that'll create these mismatches like they do against us. That's what I want to see. But it doesn't mean I want us to run the ball 90 times a game. I don't.
What do you think? Is the defense too complicated?
Our defense?
Well, Jason's he's saying he thinks the defense is too complicated. Thinks Lance Guidry is turning into Mark D'Onofrio. Oh my God!
No, he's not. Yeah, but
absolutely not.
No, maybe more like Manny Diaz, where guys were running all over the place. But look, I just think this is not the right 4 guys to play man coverage. I'm sorry, I don't think so. It looks like Mish is playing secondary, playing safety. I thought he was supposed to be like a nickel guy or something like that. But I'm also of the opinion that this week the pass rush will be better, or next week it'll be better. And I think they're going to play a little more zone. They're going to mix it up. And then so this way they're not being so predictable with who's covering who. That's what I think. Defense is playing too much hero ball. Well, I don't know about that. There are guys freelancing, though. There are guys freelancing.
Stupid penalties. If the discipline doesn't get better, mainly Jacoby George and Isaiah Horton, if their discipline doesn't get better, I mean, teams obviously are seeing it on film. Cal was making an obvious concerted attempt to bait Miami into penalties in that game. Got to get it under control, right, Bruce?
Yeah, they got to get it under control. And I don't think Horton's going to do it again. I can't speak for Jacoby George because he knows better, because he's been told 20 million times. I mean, maybe they ought to take him out for, a quarter or something like that. Let somebody else get in the game. See how he reacts. But if he does it again, I think he's going to get pulled. I think they're going to go with him, but give him one last shot, because he is getting baited and he's falling for it. He's got to stop. Is Mario doing anything about it? I'm sure he's talked to him about it, and I'm sure he knows. But then again, you don't want the kid to play scared. You want him to play loose.
Christopher Wright thinks I stayed in the mountains too long. He says I'm off my game tonight. I am tired as hell, but I hope I'm not.
Why are you off your game? What did you say that's wrong?
I have no idea. I have no clue. Let's see. I'm just going through these real quick, seeing if there's anything else that we should touch on. Our female, the president of the CaneSport Live Female Viewers Club, Jennifer Miller, is back, and she's given Rhett Lashley his kudos, which absolutely should. I mean, he's doing a great job at SMU. Probably, I don't want to say fortunate, because Miami would certainly always play anybody, anytime, any place. But let's see. And one of those teams is Georgia Tech. K Mills thinks that Georgia Tech is the one that can once again give Miami a time. I've only seen one of their games. I think they're representative, and being at home would certainly help them. I'm not sure they're going to have enough on defense to deal with Miami's offense.
I agree. And I also, they played it tight with Florida State, and Florida State's horrible. But I think we owe them. We owe them big time. So I think we're going to be ready for that game. I think we're going to be ready for every game. Listen, if they haven't learned their lesson by now, then maybe you're right, Gary. Maybe they're just going to stay where they're at, and someone's are going to knock us off. They don't seem to be locked in at the beginning of the game. That's 2 weeks in a row, and I'm blaming it on the coach. I said it before the season started. They've had bad starts in games last year too. This can't keep happening. There's no reason for this to happen. We only had 10 points at the half. No.
It is. We talk about the DBs being a weakness. The linebackers are not playing well consistently. And, some might interpret this statement as being a little harsh, but the thing that jumps out to me is the Wesley Besainth play late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a spectacular play. And yeah, he was on the ragged edge and almost got targeting. Fortunately, the call didn't go that way. But my question would be, why aren't we seeing more of that earlier in the game? Why is that play a one-off? And I do think the linebackers can play better, Bruce. Kiko hasn't been as effective as he usually is the last couple of weeks. Seems a little bit off. I would agree that the linebackers are an area that can be better.
Yeah, with the defensive line we have, they should be free to make tackles all over the place. That was why we got Simeon Barrow and these guys, to create more pressure, to bust up plays in the backfield and free up our linebackers. But I think maybe they're stuck covering guys. I think that's because they're trying to cover up for our defensive backs. Maybe they're not making as many plays because I see Besainth in coverage constantly. And that shouldn't be. It just should not be like that. What are they playing? A 4-2-5? That's what they've been doing. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess Alderman's not in there that much, but I thought he was going to be the third linebacker. So I just think that they got to get that pass rush fixed. Once they get the pass rush fixed, the linebackers will be making tackles. And if we play a zone or too deep, with the safeties, I think we'll be much better. You got to keep stuff in front of us now because we're taking bad angles. We're missing tackles constantly. Guys are turning a corner on us. And that's something that gives you a better fix. He's got to fix it. Otherwise, we're in trouble.
Ben Pfeiffer wants to see Elijah Lofton more involved. I'll join that club real fast. He's very, very good. But the problem is, so is Riley Williams. So is Elijah Arroyo. Mm-hmm. You're coming off a year where the tight end was invisible in the offense. Now they're being used. I'm just not sure you have room for all three of them, Bruce. And Lofton's just going to have to be patient. And hopefully he will be.
Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe he'll get in the backfield a couple of times, but we haven't seen him back there on the short yardage. If you put him back there, I think the whole stadium knows he's getting the ball. You could play action with him. We haven't had that much play action. We've had very few of those plays. Again, I'm not going to throw either one of these coaches or coordinators under the bus, but there's room for improvement. I think they realize it. I think on that flight home, there was a lot of introspection, and I don't
think there wasn't on the flight home. It was pretty damn late, man. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning California time, or 4 o'clock in the morning Miami time. I don't think anybody was introspecting anything on the flight home. I think there was a lot of napping going on the flight home, but hopefully there will be a lot of it going on this
I'm
week.
Sure there was. After they watched that film, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm glad they have the bye weeks. As we need it. We need to rest. We need to refocus, regroup, and get on the same page. Because look, the game against Virginia Tech was a tough physical game. This one, we looked like crap for the first half. It looked disinterested, and they shouldn't have been. But they turned it around. Also, I thought that, if you guys could comment, I thought that that the guy calling the game, Reese, was very pro-Cal. Every time they did something, he was jumping up and screaming. Every time Miami did something, he was very quiet and calm about it. Come on, don't be that obvious.
Isn't everybody pro the other team? Like, how many Miami lovers are out there in the broadcast world? Not a ton.
Yeah, but ESPN needs us, man. We got to be great.
Yeah, well, he's probably pandering to the West Coast audience. I mean, that was the West Coast featured late night game. So
yeah, well.
Anyway, that's going to do it for this week for CaneSport Live. Thank Bruce, obviously, for being part of the show. Everybody that came on, Matt Shodell. No show next Tuesday with the open week, so we'll be back in 2 weeks with the next CaneSport Live. A program note, tomorrow night, we got the Lamar Thomas Show. Same bad time, same bad channel, 8 o'clock. Come back and for the Lamar Thomas Show tomorrow night. That's always a fun evening as well. So for our whole crew, I'm Gary Ferman. Thanks for joining us again, everybody, and we will see you next time.